Okay, welcome to the media versus the NBA. I am Brady Lindley, and I wanted to talk a little bit about how the media has changed the type of questions that they're asking the NBA players and kind of the effect that it's had on the league. But of course, we need to narrow that down. So, my hypothesis is that the media has changed their focus when reporting on NBA players. The media cares more about what players' political views are today than they ever did before. To do this, I looked at many different interviews, post-game interviews, practice interviews, just interviews in general with multiple different time frames. Two of the NBA legends that have the most interviews are Michael Jordan and LeBron James. So it was easy to kind of compare the difference in time with these two players. First off, let's talk about Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was a player who was all about basketball. His focus was always on the game and his team and how they could improve and do better. His practice interviews and his game interviews were always about the game of basketball. Whenever he was asked about politics or his opinion on something else, he just said, I'm going to stay out of that. And that was kind of his take. That was the take of a lot of players in that time. So here's an example interview. There's a post-game interview with Michael Jordan in 1997.
Michael, your team looked very cohesive tonight. I mean, you guys been struggling a little bit, but tonight you look pretty good.
Well, I didn't think we had too much of a problem getting motivated for the game. I mean, anytime we face New York, Miami, these types of teams, it's a barometer for us, and we have to find a way to play our type of basketball. And the funny thing is, we have to be able to do this every night. And some nights we have tough nights, and today we just came in with a focus and we did what we had to do.
Is it one of those things when you play a team like Miami that thinks that you might be slipping, that you have to send the message that you're not?
Sure, we got to stand up for what we believe in and what we have achieved. And we may have a chink in our armor, but the armor is not off. So we out here to defend what we have, and we're not just going to hand it over. We're certainly going to defend it.
All right, good game. Happy holidays, man. All right, thank you, Bob.
Okay, so that interview was all about basketball. That was an example interview that happened a lot. It was right after the game, and they would ask, just about the game, how it went, what happened, and what Michael Jordan thought that the team could do better. Now let's talk about LeBron James and the time period of LeBron James. LeBron James entered the league kind of right as Michael Jordan was exiting the league. And so the difference has been kind of clear. Here's an example interview of LeBron James after a game.
You regret that you got into a name-calling situation with the president?
No. A name calling. What'd I say? Let me hear you say it.
Called him a bum.
It's not a name call. It's you bum. Me and my friends call each other that all the time. I'm not his friend though. I don't want to see that on the note. He's not my friend.
So as you can see from this short clip in LeBron James' interview, they don't even ask him about basketball. They don't even ask him about the game. The first thing that they want to talk about is what he tweeted about the then president, Donald Trump, and why his opinion is that way. He goes on for a couple more minutes to explain his opinion, and nowhere in those couple minutes he talks about basketball. The shift in the NBA it had kind of been trending that way. The NBA has, with the technological advances in social media and everything like that went on in the late 2000s into the 2010s, the shifts started happening. People started noticing what LeBron James and others were posting on Instagram and Twitter, and what was going on in their lives. And the media wanted to ask about that because the media thought that was more interesting to people and to viewers than the game of basketball itself. So the big change from my research happened in 2014. The shift in conversation with NBA players started in the 2010s, but when NBA players began to tweet out more and more about the personal views, the big shift in post-game interviews and conversation with the media really picked up in 2014 with the "I Can't Breathe" t-shirt. So the "I Can't Breathe" t-shirt right here that LeBron is wearing is in reference to something that happened, in the nation. And people were talking about it, and people were politically divided on it. People were divided on how police officers should go about their business and who should be in leadership. And this leadership is handling it correctly, and this leadership is handling it incorrectly. And so LeBron James and NBA players really sparked that discussion amongst, athletes. And it continued on until, today. Just 2 years ago, there was a big movement for Black Lives Matter. And that was politically divisive on who agreed with what and which leadership was handling the situation correctly. But again, the NBA players let out that discussion. The effect that it's had on the league is kind of clear here. The average TV viewership of NBA Finals games in the United States from 2002 until 2021. So as we can see in this this is the "I Can't Breathe" year. Viewership went significantly down, lower than it had been the previous 5 years. But then we fast forward a couple years, and people are talking about politically divisive stuff right here. But then in 2020 was the big year of the Black Lives Matter movement, and it really affected the overall viewership of the NBA. And viewership is starting to rise again, but some people just want to watch basketball and talk about basketball. But there are a lot of people that are interested in what players have to say about their political views. It's interesting to see the change and everything that's happened. I think that the change is, in my opinion, it's not my favorite. I like the game of basketball, and I really want to watch basketball and talk about basketball. And so it can be frustrating at times when interviewers are just asking about politics or fashion or whatever's going on in the world. But people are allowed to have their opinions, and it's interesting to see how the platform of NBA players have grown and how they've been able to influence others with their political views. And that is my presentation. Thank you for listening.